Hey, this is Kat Von D, and you're watching Music Connection.
So Kat Von D, thanks for rocking with us at Music Connection magazine. You have an illustrious creative career. Take us back from the beginning. Left Mexico, traveled to the Inland Empire, Colton. Let's start from there.
Yeah, so I was born in Mexico. I was born in a little town called Montemorelos. It's in Nuevo León, and like 6 hours or 7 hours south of Texas. And then we moved to America when I was about 6 years old and moved to the IE, the Inland Empire. And that's basically like was my introduction to the US, you know, and I think much to my parents' dismay, you know, because they're super Christian and super, I don't know how you would describe it. They're not wild or crazy in any way, and I think it was kind of scary to them when I first started getting into tattooing because they didn't really understand the industry as a whole. You know, at the time, and I don't blame them because at the time there wasn't any TV shows or anything like popularizing it or putting a positive spin on it. You know, there was just a lot of negative stigma surrounding tattooing. So it took a long time before my parents really came around. And it really wasn't until I, you know, landed a TV show in Miami about tattoos that I remember my dad called me and he's like, "Oh, now I understand what you do," you know? And it wasn't so much just about the outward expression, it was about the meaning behind why people get tattooed. And I think it opened up a lot of people's minds, you know, which I think is a good thing. And so yeah, fast forward to now, you know, I've filmed on LA Ink, and then went on book tours, created makeup lines, and now I'm finally releasing my music.
Definitely. We'll take it back a little bit. So from the IE to Miami.
Yeah.
How did that actually happen?
Yeah. So I mean, when I lived out in the Inland Empire, I was tattooing in a pretty bad part of town, but that's kind of the only place anyone would really hire me because I didn't really have much experience. But the guy, his name was Dave Smith, he saw my portfolio and he just saw that there was like some promise, you know, to my artwork, not necessarily my tattooing, because I was never traditionally apprenticed. And so, you know, he took a chance on me and I had to unlearn a lot of stuff that I was doing because I was just tattooing super ghetto out of my house, you know? And so I outgrew that shop a year into it and moved to Los Angeles and bounced around shops for a couple years until I found one that I really liked to work at. It was called True Tattoo at the time. It's not around anymore. And one of the guys that worked at that shop, he was filming on set with Miami Ink. And so at the time they were looking for a female cast member to join. And you know, there weren't that many female tattooers at the time, and or at least not that many good ones. And so my friend Chris was like, "Hey, you know, do you want to try out for this?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't watch TV. I don't really want to be on TV. You know, I was so busy at the time with tattooing and happy." But then I saw like the roster of other artists that they were, you know, considering, and I was like, you know, I think maybe I should just give it a shot and try and be the best representation for tattooing that I could possibly be at the time. And so they loved me and the ratings went great, and kind of the rest is history after that.
Were you like the only female at the time? Yeah,
I was the only female tattooer at the time, and it basically sparked interest from the public. They all really loved when I was on camera, and so the producers ended up offering me my own spin-off show, and then that's how LA Ink started. So I never really, you know, went out seeking to open up my own tattoo shop. I was pretty happy working at the place I was at, but I'm glad that it pushed me to do that because I love running my own shop. I love the little family that I've created now, all my crew and stuff, and I don't think that would have happened if I hadn't been pushed to do that show. And so, you know, I think there's obviously good and bad things that come from any big production. You know, I'm one that loves to document my life. I'm not afraid to do that. I think it's pretty cool to see different landmarks in time documented, and so that was cool. I love the production aspect of it. I learned a lot about film and sound and all that stuff. So later on I was able to like film my own documentaries, and now I'm doing my own music videos and understanding the production side of it. I think I didn't really like dealing with the network too much, but that you know, I think any artist would complain about the same thing, because you lose a lot of creative freedom and you don't have control over a lot of things. So, you know, I finished out my contract and did, I forgot, like 1 million episodes and seasons with them, and I think we created something really cool. I mean, it changed the world's perspective on tattooing.
Absolutely. So with you know, being a tattoo artist, model, businesswoman, musician, what's like your favorite part of it?
I mean, you know, what's interesting is that most people know me from the world of tattooing or for makeup and stuff like that, but the reality of it is that music has always been my #1 form of self-expression. It's been like the driving force behind everything, and if you look at everything I've done, everything's always been inspired by music. So I was actually classically trained to play piano since I was 5 years old, and you know, I was playing Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin, things like that, and I read music, and I just, to me, that's always been kind of like my best friend. You know, it's been the most consistent thing in my life to date. So when I did decide to write an album, I knew that I would have to learn how to sing. You know, like the last time I sang was like in the church choir when I was a little girl. So I found an amazing voice coach, this guy named Ken Tamplin, and he basically just from scratch taught me how to sing. And I went to my voice lessons for 2 years, 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, and really just dedicated myself to learn how to sing. Because I don't want to use autotune. I want to be able to play live. That's the main thing, is like, you know, I want to be able to perform these songs. They're written to be sung out loud. So so yeah, but then, you know, I think living in LA, it's pretty amazing just to be surrounded by so many creative people. Like, I'm just lucky to have a lot of friends that I'm like their biggest fans, you know. So at the time I was neighbors. My neighbor was Danny Lohner from 9 Inch Nails, and we used to hang out every day. And when I told him I was starting to write music, he was like so excited to work on stuff with me. And Linda Perry ended up jumping on board and writing some songs with me. And then, you know, I was tattooing Dave Grohl at the time, and you know, he was excited about possibly playing drums on a few tracks and stuff. So it's almost like all my friends came together to support my vision, you know, to make this music come to life.
Nice, nice. So speaking of music, you have a debut album that's going to be released. Take us from the beginning. I know it's taken some years to accomplish. From the beginning, your first, you know, composition.
Well, I mean, you know, I used to be in an unrequited love relationship with this guy that lived overseas, and he was also in a band. And, you know, so this was like 10 years ago. He wrote this album for me and mailed it to my house with a note on it that said, "These are all the things that are easier sung than said." And I sat down and I listened to this album, and I was just really moved by it, you know, and I thought, what better way to respond than with an album? So that's when I started taking voice lessons and really learning how to sing, and with the intention of writing this album to respond to this one. And, you know, so much time has passed. Obviously, if you fast forward to now, I'm married happily and have a beautiful son, and I processed those feelings for that guy a long time ago. So, you know, my husband, he's my biggest fan, and he loves the songs that I've written, and we just always joke around that these songs are really just all about my cat now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about the mood of it.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
Pop. It again reminds me of The Cure, Smiths.
You know, people ask me and my band like what genre the music is, and it's a really hard one to pinpoint because I don't really know what genre it is. We just like to create music that we love, and my bandmates and I, we love a lot of the analog synth sounds of the 1980s. You know, there's like a nostalgic sentiment behind these synthesizers. I'm a huge fan of Depeche Mode, The Cure, Susie and the Banshees, although I don't think we sound like them. Like, I think you know, there's aspects of them that I really love and do inspire, you know, parts of the music, but I think we've been able to create our own style in our own weird, fucked up way, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So music videos on all the records, is that the plan? Yeah. I mean, you know, so Love Made Me Do It is the name of the So Love Made Me Do It is the title of the album, and that album is getting released in August, and so I'm releasing 4 singles prior to that, and I've made videos for each of them. So you know, I just, to me, I think storytelling is such a huge part of putting your music out there. You know, I think when it comes to
your music videos, the imagery that you play during your live shows. And you know, it's funny because I'm like the only person I know that has a contortionist in their band, and to me that was it's crucial to have the visual aspect of the music displayed.
Absolutely. That's cool. Yeah, the contortionist, I can boxes and whatnot.
Yeah, she's crazy. Yeah, Bryn is an amazing athlete. You know, that's what I call her, an athlete, because the things she does with her body are like, I don't even understand. But it's really cool. She loves our music that we create, and I think it's her favorite type of music to move to.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Any plans? I mean, again, this is the debut album.
Yeah.
Any other like thoughts of any releases that might be coming up in a year or two?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we're already starting to work on the second album, and but you know, first we're gonna release this one and go on tour. So we plan on doing a U.S. tour, an international tour, and hopefully once South America opens up, we can go down to Mexico and Argentina and Chile and all those places.
Cool.
Yeah, I think the second album, you know, we're still in the writing phases right now, but I know I'm doing a duet with Charo. She's one of my favorites. I think she's such a legendary person, but she, more than anything, I've just been such a huge fan of her talent because she's like an amazing killer guitarist. And so we're gonna do like a song in Spanish actually from the 1940s. So yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. So I mean, again, you have a lot going on, which is great. Anything that you want to tell, like any upcoming musicians, what they should prepare for, whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been terrible at giving advice. I think the only thing that I would ever tell anybody, or if they wanted some advice, would be just to stick to your guns. I think that we live in a world where everything is so disposable, and there's a lot of integrity lost in the desire to be liked or to gain fame or status or money, and it really does kill the act of creating. And you know, for me, I always like to create things that I want in my life, you know, and when it comes to music, I think, I don't know, I'm excited for the possibilities of new musicians coming through that have that sense of integrity, you know, because I think when you're sincere, it really shows through. I'm tired of just seeing these like pre-written lyrics with, you know, auto-tune and just the soullessness of it, you know. Some of it's cool too. It's just not really what I want to dive into. And you know, I love being moved, and I love, you know, funny enough, as a tattooer, I've spent my entire career tattooing lyrics on so many people, and it's like these meaningful lyrics that become part of people's soundtrack of life, you know. And I think that I hope that more people are going to be creating that kind of content, you know. Sure. And you know, I think some of the disposable stuff is it's good for the time being, but I hear some of it and I'm just like, oh, the test of time won't be kind to this, and or I wouldn't really want that to be my history, you know. And you know, it's a little bit just out of touch with the human fingerprint.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned touring. Is there like a date?
Yeah. Well, you know, we're gonna have a record release party on August 27th when the album comes out, and so I think we're gonna perform 4 songs just
out here in LA.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do it at the Roosevelt in Hollywood. Okay. But then shortly after that, in September, is when we start the U.S. tour. We have like 4 warm-up shows, and then in May we do Europe. So of next year. So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. I hope you'll come out.
Yeah. I'll reach out to Sue.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Any other things that you'd like to let our audience know about you, or anything that might be coming up?
No, I mean, I talk a lot, so hopefully I didn't bore everybody to death.